video and then just
Sure.
for your information.
Sure.
Very good afternoon, everyone, and warm welcome to 33rd Water Talk, which is being organized by National Water Mission and is supported by Water Digest. I'm Anupma, the director and editor of Water Digest, and I welcome you in today's Water Talk. But before we start, let's have a look at the journey of National Water Mission. Here we go.
गंगे च यमुने चैव गोदावरी सरस्वती कावेरी नर्मदे सिंधु जलस्मिन् सन्निधिं कुरु। जल ईश्वर स्वरूप है, सौम्य, शालीन, जीवनदायक। प्रकृति का दिया ये जल रूपी वरदान पृथ्वीवासियों के लिए सिर्फ एक विरासत नहीं बल्कि एक जिम्मेदारी है जिसे आने वाली पीढ़ी के लिए संभालना आवश्यक है। और इस उद्देश्य की ओर पूरी निष्ठा से कार्य कर रहा है राष्ट्रीय जल मिशन, जल शक्ति मंत्रालय, भारत सरकार।
खेती के उपयोग में आने वाले पानी का अधिकतम उपयोग हो, इस दृष्टिकोण से मंत्रालय माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के मार्गदर्शन में काम कर रहा है और हमने नेशनल वाटर मिशन में 20% तक पानी के उपयोग में कमी लाने का लक्ष्य रखा है। सतह पर जो उपलब्ध है उसका उचित प्रबंधन, भूगर्भ के जो हमारे स्रोत हैं उनका ठीक से उपभोग हो, जो पानी हम अलग अलग क्षेत्र में उपयोग में लेते हैं उसका विवेकपूर्ण उपयोग हो और उसके साथ साथ में जो पानी उपयोग के बाद में निकलता है उसका ठीक से ट्रीटमेंट हो, तो हम जल सुरक्षित देश को बना सकते हैं।
जलवायु परिवर्तन का विशेष ध्यान रखते हुए नेशनल एक्शन प्लान ऑन क्लाइमेट चेंज के तहत नेशनल वाटर मिशन की स्थापना की गई ताकि जल संरक्षण को बढ़ावा मिले, जल की बर्बादी को कम किया जा सके और राज्यों के भीतर एवं राज्यों के बीच जल का अधिक समान रूप से वितरण सुनिश्चित किया जा सके। राष्ट्रीय जल मिशन के प्रमुख उद्देश्य हैं जल का डेटाबेस सार्वजनिक रूप से प्रस्तुत रखना और जल संसाधनों पर जलवायु परिवर्तन के प्रभाव का आकलन करना, जल संरक्षण वृद्धि और संरक्षण के लिए नागरिक और राज्य कार्रवाई को बढ़ावा देना, शोषित क्षेत्रों सहित संवेदनशील क्षेत्रों पर ध्यान देना, 20% तक जल उपयोग कुशलता में वृद्धि करना और बेसिन स्तर के एकीकृत जल संसाधन प्रबंधन को बढ़ावा देना।
देश के अंदर जितनी भी वर्षा होती है एक वर्ष के अंदर, हम उसका केवल 8% ही बचा पा रहे हैं। तो ऐसी दृष्टि को मद्देनजर रखते हुए हमें युद्ध स्तर के ऊपर जो है अपने जल प्रबंधन के कार्य को आगे बढ़ाने की आवश्यकता है और हमारा मंत्रालय जो है उस दिशा के अंदर सतत प्रयास कर रहा है।
अपने लक्ष्य की ओर बढ़ते हुए राष्ट्रीय जल मिशन ने अनेकों कदम उठाए हैं, जिसके तहत कैच द रेन नामक एक खास कैंपेन शुरू किया गया है, जिसकी टैगलाइन है कैच द रेन वेयर इट फॉल्स व्हेन इट फॉल्स। इसमें राज्य सरकारों, सामाजिक संस्थानों, सरकारी और गैर सरकारी संस्थानों से एप्रोप्रिएट रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर्स का निर्माण और उसके उपयोग का अनुरोध किया है, जो कि वहां के सॉइल और क्लाइमेटिक कंडीशंस के अनुरूप हो और वर्षा के पानी को बचाने और कुशलता से उपयोग करने की इस मुहिम में अधिकाधिक लोगों को साथ जोड़ने की पहल की गई है। साथ ही विभिन्न कलेक्टर्स को जिला स्तर पर रेन सेंटर्स की शुरुआत करने का अनुरोध भी किया गया है, जिसके माध्यम से आम लोगों को वर्षा जल संचय से जुड़ी तकनीकी जानकारी दी जा सके। कुछ प्रमुख संस्थानों और मंत्रालयों ने वर्षा जल को संरक्षित करने के लिए कदम भी उठाए हैं। जल संरक्षण में समाज की भागीदारी को बढ़ावा देने के लिए कई संस्थाओं को भी साथ जोड़ने की पहल की गई है।
Both in urban areas and rural areas, rainwater harvesting system must be made mandatory when sanctioning plans. We must ensure that water is not wasted and the groundwater reserves are recharged when the rain falls on the ground. We must catch the rain and store it. I'm happy that the National Water Mission's campaign is taking up a timely initiative called Catch the Rain when it falls.
वर्षा जल संचय की महत्ता को ध्यान में रखते हुए समाज की जानी मानी हस्तियों ने भी इस कैच द रेन कैंपेन को बढ़ावा और सहयोग दिया। राष्ट्रीय जल मिशन लगातार जल संरक्षण हेतु ट्रेडिशनल वाटर सिस्टम के रिवाइवल के लिए कार्य कर रहा है। इस दिशा में भारत के स्टेप वेल्स की धरोहर को संजोते हुए राष्ट्रीय जल मिशन द्वारा स्टेप वेल्स ऑफ इंडिया नामक एक किताब लोकार्पित की गई, जिसमें 100 यूनिक और इंटरेस्टिंग स्टेप वेल्स की जानकारी मौजूद है।
We use as much as 85% of the water resources for irrigation alone, and therefore depleting the groundwater tables. So we have a situation where we need to improve the management of our water resources, and this cannot be done only through the central and state government programs, because water touches our lives, and that's where the National Water Mission has launched major initiatives. It conducts regular talks every third Friday. There is a talk on water, and on every second Friday there is a talk on water technology issues. Apart from these initiatives, there is the initiative of Jal Shakti Abhiyan, which was conceived of in 2019. For a campaign to be really successful, it has to have the commitment of the top political leadership. And what better commitment can be there if the Prime Minister of the country gives this clarion call to the citizens to participate in this program.
भारत के ज्यादातर हिस्सों में मई जून में बारिश शुरू होती है। क्या हम अभी से अपने आसपास के जल स्रोतों की सफाई के लिए, वर्षा जल के संचयन के लिए 100 दिन का कोई अभियान शुरू कर सकते हैं? इसी सोच के साथ अब से कुछ दिन बाद जल शक्ति मंत्रालय द्वारा भी जल शक्ति अभियान कैच द रेन भी शुरू किया जा रहा है। इस अभियान का मूल मंत्र है कैच द रेन Where it falls, when it falls। हम अभी से जुटेंगे। हम पहले से जो रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग सिस्टम है उन्हें दुरुस्त करवा लेंगे, गांवों में, तालाबों में, पोखरों की सफाई करवा लेंगे, जल स्रोतों तक जा रहे पानी के रास्ते की रुकावटें दूर कर लेंगे, तो ज्यादा से ज्यादा वर्षा जल का संचयन कर पाएंगे।
जल संरक्षण की अधिकाधिक जागरूकता और प्रशिक्षण का फैलाव भी किया जा रहा है, जिसके तहत वाटर टॉक नामक लेक्चर सीरीज चलाई जा रही है। इस पहल को ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोगों तक पहुंचाने के लिए इस वाटर टॉक सीरीज को डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म के माध्यम से आगे पहुंचाया गया, और जिसके कारण न केवल प्रतिभागियों की संख्या बढ़ी, बल्कि देश विदेश से भी लोग इसमें शामिल हो रहे हैं। साथ ही इन वाटर टॉक्स का सार एक बुक में भी कंपाइल किया गया है। इसके अलावा नेशनल वाटर मिशन की तरफ से वाटर कंजर्वेशन के अलग अलग टॉपिक्स पर टेक्निकल सेमिनार्स और वेबिनार्स भी किए जाते रहे हैं। साथ ही जिला अधिकारियों और म्युनिसिपल कमिश्नर्स के साथ वीकली वेबिनार्स भी किए जाते हैं, जिसमें उनके द्वारा उनके क्षेत्र में की जा रही बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस की चर्चा की जाती है।
एवरी डीएम्स को रिक्वेस्ट किया कि हर जिले में एक रेन सेंटर नहीं तो एक जल शक्ति केंद्र खोलने के लिए। इस जल शक्ति केंद्र में जल के बारे में जितने भी जानकारी लोगों को मिलना चाहिए उसी के बारे में जानकारी मिलता है। बट वी हैव टू मेक पीपल अंडरस्टैंड द वैल्यू ऑफ वाटर and engage them in discussions, engage them in thinking about the value of water, so that they leave behind a very good legacy for their next generation.
सिंचाई क्षेत्र में सुधार के लिए 26 बेसलाइन स्टडीज भी की गयी, और साथ ही मांग प्रबंधन यानी डिमांड साइड मैनेजमेंट के लिए सही फसल नामक कैंपेन चलाया जा रहा है, ताकि किसानों को उनके क्षेत्र के अनुसार कम पानी की खपत वाली फसल की बुआई के लिए शिक्षित और प्रोत्साहित किया जा सके। और इसके लिए किसानों को वर्कशॉप्स भी दी जा रही हैं। राष्ट्रीय जल मिशन के इस कैंपेन के चलते कुछ राज्यों ने क्रॉप डाइवर्सिफिकेशन को प्रोत्साहित करने के लिए अपनी पॉलिसी में बदलाव भी किए। औद्योगिक क्षेत्र में भी जल के कुशल उपयोग के लिए नेशनल वाटर मिशन लगातार निगरानी बनाए हुए है, जिसके तहत कई विभिन्न उद्योगों में वाटर ऑडिट्स भी किए जा रहे हैं। BIS की पार्टनरशिप के तहत वाटर अप्लायंसेस के स्टार रेटिंग का काम भी हो रहा है। जल क्षेत्र में स्टेट स्पेसिफिक एक्शन प्लान की संरचना के लिए राष्ट्रीय जल मिशन द्वारा राज्यों को वित्तीय सहायता भी दी जाती है। इतना ही नहीं, विभिन्न रूप से जल संरक्षण को व्यवहार में लाने वाले संस्थानों को प्रोत्साहित करने के लिए नेशनल वाटर मिशन अवार्ड्स के जरिए 45 लाख रुपए तक के कैश प्राइजेस भी वितरित किए गए। साफ पानी और स्वच्छता मानव जीवन को पूर्ण रूप देते हैं। ये सच है, जल जीवन है, जल ही शक्ति है।
Digitalization of water is fast evolving into an indispensable resource. Though there are barriers to adopting digital technology, but that can be overcome to accelerate full digital integration. Let's hear it from the expert. We have with us Ms. Jayamala Subramaniam, CEO, Arbhagyam, and she'll be talking on digitally enabled strategy to enhance community resilience towards water security. And like always, we have with us Shri Ashok Kumar, Additional Secretary and Mission Director, National Water Mission, Ministry of Jal Shakti. We are happy to be a part of this wonderful initiative of National Water Mission. And with this, I hand it over to Ashok ji for his opening remarks and also introduce us with the key speaker today and the selection of topic by him today. Over to you, Ashok ji.
Thank you, Anupama. Very nice. This is the last webinar of the year. The last webinar of Water Talk, which probably I'll be handling, but it's a long journey which we started. National Water Mission started the Water Talk series on 22nd March 2019. It was a physical event which we held in the Dr. Ambedkar International Center in Delhi with about 700 people starting off with that. And we gave a platform and we were enriched by the talks by various activists, practitioners, academicians and scientists and planners and policymakers related to water. It was such an enlightening and enriching experience that it became a regular feature on every third Friday, and we have not missed out any week except 1 or 2 weeks when we had the COVID problem. But then we bounced back with the digital talk, thanks to Anupama and Co. With the help of them, we went back to the people because there were many people eagerly waiting for us. We started the Water Talk on the e-platform. So from May 2020 onwards, we moved on to the e-platform. But that really was an eye-opener because then it increased our reach both numerically as well as geographically. Some of the talks which went up to even up to 2.5 million views. We also had people asking questions and attending our talks from various parts of the world, from Dubai, from Nigeria, from Australia, from USA, from UK. So that was the geographic reach we got. And since we were ready with the Water Talk, rain or shine, or festivals, irrespective of any holiday or shoot, we were there. And so the people were very, very anxious to talk about it. And that's why we have sort of a niche audience who keeps on watching our program, and our YouTube and Facebook gets a lot of views on these talks. Having said that, the important aspect of awareness generation alone was not the work of National Water Mission. You have seen many of the programs which we are doing in the video which we showed you. The best of the National Water Mission was the Catch the Rain campaign, which was held in 2021 March 22nd onwards, launched by the Honorable Prime Minister himself. It's a very, very exhilarating experience because this is probably one of the most economical, most environment friendly, most involving and engaging water harvesting campaign probably ever in the world. We, in this 7-8 months under the Catch the Rain campaign, do almost 43 lakh water harvesting structures, about 24,000 in rural areas and about 3 lakh in urban areas, and 16 lakh structures work in progress. So about 43 lakh structures, water harvesting structures in the country, and almost 37 crores of tree plantation was taken up. The total expenditure would be to the tune of more than 65,000 crores, out of which 60,000 has come from the Manrega alone, and then we have the Campa funds under the Finance Commission, etc. Also, and the state budgets and local initiatives, district mineral funds, etc. pulling in, and NGOs, of course, doing their bit. So it was a very big campaign with about 65,000 crores spent, with the people's participation, making so many structures. In addition to that, we also did the mapping of almost 16 lakh water bodies in the country, and the process is going on. We also set up portals to report it. In our portal, we have more than 16 lakh photographs of the work done, 13,000 videos of the various work done under the campaign. As I said, 37 crore trees have been planted. Then we also set up Jal Shakti Kendras. Almost 300 Jal Shakti Kendras have been set up in the country. This is actually for the new person who was hearing it first. Jal Shakti Kendras are an integrated information center for water resources management in the country. All water-related information in a district, rainfall, the stocks which are critically exploited, or cropping pattern, the type of soil, water harvesting structure suited for that area. All information related to water would be made available in the Shakti Kendra. So that will be a one stop resource center on water-related matters in the country. This is because water has been divided into various departments, and never so different departments used to handle water differently, and there's never an integrated approach. Urban, rural, surface, down, river, ponds. Then you have supply demand side from the agriculture, sprinkler irrigation systems to be engaged, the industrial use, all were handled disjointed by various departments of the government. So we are trying to bring it back, at least the information on all these activities, and appropriate advices to be given by the people managing them from the Jal Shakti Kendras. It's a very, very innovative innovation. So about 300 centers have been established all over the country out of the 700. Maybe in another one or 2 months, all will be established. So and also we have prepared the water action plan, water conservation plan, out of nearly 2.59 lakh Gram Sabhas. We have actually, with the help of Rural Development Ministry, prepared action plan, water conservation plan for about 2.03 lakh Gram Panchayats. That's also a very major achievement. And also we have the information of the water bodies. Most of them are digital tagged photographs, and the state of health of the water body also connected. So a huge campaign with the help of people was completed, and it was done. The last day was November 30th. We also requested the collectors to organize Gram Sabha. So just to get feedback from the people and to also motivate them to continue the campaign. So this Catch the Rain campaign was a very, very phenomenal success as well as we are concerned, and probably with the copious rains we received, we expect that we will be having a Tangar Mukh Bharat during summer season, with a lot of water available in plenty for drinking water as well as agriculture. There should not be any major problem of water. So this could be a lesson for the people that if we manage water, conserve the rainwater, store the rainwater properly, we can get away with a lot of problems which we face in summer later on. So that is probably we are hoping that this the lessons learned in this and the advantage people learn from this Catch the Rain campaign would be encouragement for them to continue the campaign on their own in the future. Now, after the the campaign, I'd like to take one or two points on the other initiatives which we took. One was the water talk, which we mentioned before. Then we had the water tech talk, which we had brought in the technology aspect of it. So the people who were very conversant with the latest cutting edge technology in water sector, they were brought to speak in the water technology campaign, tech talk. So far, we have done almost 37, 15 water tech talk. It started from October 2020. So that has also been a very niche product. A lot of people listen to us, a lot of youngsters, a lot of engineers, a lot of new products we have brought in from outside the country as well as inside the country. Young scientists have come and presented their work. So that was also a very niche program which we had been organizing over the years. Then these two successes, we also tried to bring in the collectors and the DMs. We have had 27 talks with the collectors and the DMs and the NGOs of the districts every Saturday. So also almost 27 dialogue with collectors are over. This is basically encouraging to encourage the collectors as well as to a platform for them to show the work they have done in the water conservation sector. It was again a very big success because we have had more than 120 collectors and about 20 municipal commissioners and NGOs coming and talking to us on the initiatives they have done in the districts. So that was another program. And encouraged by all these things, we started the water business talk to actually to get the investments in water sector. So water business talk were brought in to get the water investments in water sector. So these are some of the initiatives which we have done, apart from the state-specific action plan and water auditing, etc. done. So this I mentioned because probably this would be my last water talk I'm hosting. So I thought I should thank all the people associated with this program, all my staff in the National Water Mission, all the platform providers and technical providers like Anupama for Water Digest, Sangamitra and Co from the APAC, and all other people, NIC, when we were having meetings with the DMs. We had held meetings with all. A lot of people joined together to make this this campaign a very big success, and I'm thankful to all of them. Now, coming to today's talk, we have a talk by Jayamala Subramanian Madam. She is an expert with a lot of experience in execution in banking, education, agro-technology, IT, and not-for-profit sectors across the countries. So it's a very rare combination of various sectors and focusing on water, including the digital application of water, to how to use digital technology for the betterment of water and for better water management. And she has proven expertise in identifying and establishing transformational processes for scaling standalone startups. So it's a time of startups. There are 70 unicorns in our country. So the support, and water is one of the very attractive sector for startups. So she is encouraging them, and a lot of things can be done in the digital world in water. Even though it sounds very disconnect, we have for metering, for data management, a lot of things. The digitalization of water is important, and we will hear much more from her. At Argyam, she leads the scale imagination journey for large government and NGO programs to achieve water security in a sustainable manner using digital platform. She is a certified executive and business coach, and she has a management degree from IIM Calcutta. The topic today is digitally enabled strategy to enhance community resilience towards water security. Every word is important. We have been discussing a lot about water security, quality and quantity of water. Yes, both of them can be monitored, measured, and probably and managed with digital technology. So for water security, quantity aspect and quality aspect is important. And we have lot of water losses due to the on-revenue water leakages, etc., which again can be digital technology can be used to identify those things and rectify them. A lot can be done using digital technology. In fact, now Tech Talks, if you remember, many people had come forward telling about the twin technology, twinning technology, as well as use of artificial intelligence water management. We have had a talk from Israel person from Israel scientists who talked about precision agriculture using artificial intelligence to give the exact requirement of drop-wise requirement of water to be given to the plant at the right stage. So a lot of things can be possible. And so without taking much time, I request Mr. Jayamala Subramanian talk about a very, very exciting topic, a digitally enabled strategy to enhance community resilience with water security. Over to Ms. Jayamala Subramanian.
Thank you, Ashok ji. Good evening to everyone here. I'm going to request my colleague Abhishek to just put up a presentation as we talk. I'm really excited to be here to share some thoughts on simple but powerful digital ideas that we have seen has unlocked huge potential for scale and participatory water management. I think a lot of the things that Ashok ji spoke about and what the National Water Mission is also doing is really to connect people to the resource of water, right? So that through that, we can identify problems, we can identify context-specific problems, we can identify what has worked in places where people have solved for those problems and learn from that and then apply that, right? Just to increase conversations around water, increase the articulation of what needs to be done to make water equitable, sustainable, and also then to in some sense attract the right kind of policies, right kind of public funding, so that overall we build a much more water secure and equitable and sustainable society for ourselves. So that's really where we are also coming from as Argyem. I'm Mala. I am the CEO of Argyem, which is a registered public charitable foundation based in Bangalore. It was started with an endowment from Rohini Nilekani more than 15 years ago. I would really like to thank Shri Ashok ji for inviting Argyem to this Water Talk series and giving us an opportunity to discuss this approach that we are calling, addressing water security challenges using digital and seeing how can we improve participation, how can we improve the power of people to manage their water better. And all of this actually started in a meeting, Ashok ji, if you recall, with the Secretary, Shri Pankaj Kumar ji, when we were all talking about similar ideas for where this can apply for all the initiatives that the Ministry of Jal Shakti is doing. And you pointed out about how the Jal Shakti Kendras could also perhaps benefit from this. And we'd love to see how some of these ideas can move ahead and fructify. So that is really what I would like to discuss using a presentation, at the end of which we will also show a small video, which really is the voice from our ecosystem actors in terms of all the work that they have put in, the shifts that they are seeing, the value that they are seeing from this, in the hope that we can collectively discuss how more of this can be made applicable so that India can become much more water secure, much faster, because that is the need of the hour. Abhishek? Can you move? Yeah. So as you can see from this, the core of Argyem's portfolio is really about participatory approaches in managing water. We have largely been in rural India, and therefore our focus has been in groundwater, in springs and water quality. But we do have experience in rural sanitation as well. We've also worked a lot that has, through our partners, that has contributed to also the Swachh Bharat mission's guidelines. We have understanding of urban and peri-urban issues, but largely our focus has been in rural water. In terms of geography, while the spread has not been even across the country, it has covered most parts of India. We've had partners work in almost 22 states in the country. So there is a flavor that we have and an appreciation we have of issues across the country. Our theory of change, like I said, really has been focused on what can make participatory management of water better. And in that, we chose groundwater as a key area of investment because we felt that demystifying the science of groundwater or hydrogeology and making the data on water, local water, available to communities, visible to communities, triggers them to come together and take action and implement locally meaningful and sustainable water management protocols. And we felt that those have the power to be the most sustainable. So alongside the impact of creating practice in about 1,000 such establishments that we have directly funded, we've also seen that there's been a fairly significant systemic impact as well in the work that we have funded over the years. A lot of our partners have been able to come together and influence the idea of a water cadre. As you all know, there is no such thing as a recognized water cadre, much like teachers in education or ASHA workers in health. But through the work that our partners did, the idea of a para-hydrogeologist or a Bhujal Jankar has become very prominent, and a lot has now been recognized in many programs, state and national programs, as something that we should continue to invest in and create at the level of a village or a gram panchayat. In addition to the idea of a cadre, the formation of informal and formal collaboratives that have come together to influence policies, to influence public funding have been fairly significant impact of our work. We have seen the Springs Initiative come together through partners that we directly funded and partners who we did not directly fund, but they saw the power of people coming together. We've seen informal collaborations through the Participatory Groundwater Management Network. We've seen formal collaborations like the Water Quality Network, and all of them together have contributed significantly to policy, so that today groundwater is recognized as commons, springs is recognized in policy. Various state governments have started participatory programs in water management in springs and water quality. And today we also have a national program in the Atal Bhujal Yojana, which is really a grand national program on groundwater. So while working on science and with people, we realized that to reach large geographies and touch as many lives in the shortest possible time, we need to look at models that don't just take us from village to village, because we don't have the luxury of that time. But what do we do to use what we learned and see how this can accelerate to many, many villages at the same time, so that looking at models that change the status quo and that allow us to address this problem of water security, which is at the intersection of climate change, public health, and livelihoods, in a way that it accelerates to provide water security for 500, 600 million people who are still vulnerable. That has really been our endeavor over the last 3 to 4 years, based on the learnings of the previous 10, 12 years. How do we accelerate water security for many, many hundreds of billions of people that are still left without water security? So when we looked at the numbers, in terms of why do we feel the urgency, we realized that all of us collectively, and it's not just our games partners, others who are working in water, they've collectively been looking at water insecurity maybe at least over the last 30 to 40 years. And at RGAME, we have first-hand experience of this, having worked with civil society organizations for 15 years. Yet when we sat down to do the math of how many people we might have reached together, we felt that maybe we may not have reached more than 10% of the people who need help. And when we looked at current models and sort of estimated what will it take for us to reach with current models in terms of the resource and the time that it takes to reach, how long will it take to reach all of the people? And we felt that the number is somewhere close to 35,000 years. And we figured that, that is not an option. We really need to look at what can we do with current understanding to see how we can change status quo so that we can reach them much, much faster and that the problem can actually, we can be on top of the problem. And then we started to look at why is it that the resource models are so heavy? Why does it take so long? Why does it take, why is it so expensive per unit of intervention? And we felt that there are some core anxieties, that fundamental frictions, as we call it, when it comes to scale of water security work with communities at the center. I think we have certainly understood and implemented scale when it comes to building of infrastructure. I think that is certainly something that we are doing pretty well. But when it comes to communities and reaching them and understanding their needs and involving them in the work that needs to happen for them to manage water, we feel that the models of community mobilization, engagement, interactions are very, very thick. And we need to find ways in which they can become much more nimble. And we started, therefore, by looking at groundwater, because groundwater is what we know and what we funded over the years. And we said, how do we make the understanding of groundwater much more nimble? And the reasons we picked groundwater is because on top of everything else, groundwater is also invisible. India is a groundwater economy. We draw groundwater, more groundwater than USA and China combined. And in water security in India, for the most part, depends on understanding and managing groundwater as a common pool resource. So, and we also know that we have very localized aquifers. There are complexities of aquifers that we need to therefore understand at a very hyper local level. We also know that groundwater is invisible. It's very difficult, therefore, to engage with something that is invisible. We feel like there's a lot of it because we can't see it. We know that tables are dropping, but unless we make that really, really easy for people to engage with, it is unlikely that we will see a movement at scale where groundwater is better understood and better managed. Therefore, we felt we have to understand how to make groundwater less invisible. As we did that, we also felt that, therefore, if we want to do this at scale, we know from earlier experience when we worked with our partners, like I said, in the 1,000 villages, the models sort of indicated to us that for a community to get mobilized, for a local water champion to emerge, for that champion to actually understand supply side, demand side, and make a water security plan, it can take anywhere between 19 to 40 interactions with an expert, and not just one kind of expert, right? The hydrogeologist, a behavior scientist, a government scheme understanding, the various kinds of requirements that water champion will need to handle and need support for. And when we saw large programs, we felt that most of the programs were just resourcing for 1 or 2 interactions, 1 or 2 trainings. And we felt that if we feel scale will happen with quality, then communities need more interactions, not less at scale. So these 1 or 2 training schedules per year that are typical of a program is not sufficient. So that's when we started thinking, can we look at digital tools? We have available tools like Zoom. How can we bring that in, but also apply our knowledge of what it takes to build this understanding of water, bring in robust demand-led curation processes that can increase interactions systematically and therefore curate those interactions as well in a way that the understanding on water is built faster. The understanding of water is also built not from just experts explaining to peers, but peers understanding from peers. So how do we, make this more of an adult learning, much more efficient, much more effective? And that is what we did. And we had some sort of unfortunate that the pandemic happened, but it also accelerated behavior change and towards adoption of digital in a way that we saw much more adoption of this in the last 2 years. We also saw that when this happens, and when the friction of joining a training is reduced, when people are able to join it from their homes, when they can join trainings much more frequently, then it brings in a lot more women participation as well, because now they don't need to travel, they don't need to leave their families, they can take part in these trainings from their homes. We also saw an increase in their identities, because now people around them are seeing how valuable they are, and the work that they're doing is so much more valuable. It increases agency. So all round, we saw both an increase in the quantity of interactions, but also the quality of interactions, and therefore an increased understanding, so to speak, of water and planning for water, and at the same time a reduction in cost. So we felt that this is a huge amplifier that we should certainly harness as we look at increasing the awareness and scale of water security building with communities. Another big anxiety that we see in participatory processes is sort of reminiscent of this proverb. I think the Hindi proverb is probably much more, brings to home the point, which is that more nacha jangal mein kisne dekha. This is actually someone was in this whole sector was talking to us about this anxiety, saying that while you're working in a village or two villages, where you're there, you're able to see, you actually know that the community is involved or not involved, right? Because you can see that. But at scale, we are so removed from communities that the few experts we have will not be able to go community to community to understand what is happening. Are the communities actually connected with the plan? Is the plan being made by the master trainer or the NGO or the expert, but not by the community? And therefore, will it have a sustainability quotient? Will it actually be implemented? So these are huge anxieties. We felt that if we don't solve for this, we will not be able to scale. And therefore, looking at how digital can help to increase confidence that indeed communities were involved, indeed communities were able to actually build this for themselves, is something that we saw is very, very useful for scale. So let's imagine, for instance, that we can wire up the training that we do. We can wire up the digital level interactions, interactions with digital, and that this actually generates data that both people on the field, but also programs can trust. What will that look like? And this is what we managed to deploy in the last 2 years in some programs that we work with. Abhishek, the next slide. Simple to use tools like the participatory digital attestation tool that only requires participants to scan in and out of session. That is all they have to do. Releases tons of verifiable data that is useful for participants and the program. What do the participants get? They get attestations, what we are calling digital attestations. In some sense, it's a record of their skills, that they attended this training, and therefore they are equipped to do some things. In addition, they also get content that they can refer to when they want at their leisure. And this is particularly important because oftentimes we find that there is a big gap between training and the actual application of that knowledge. So it is not easy for them to remember everything when they have to apply the knowledge. So the availability of content on their mobile in a way that they can access it when they need it has become very, very useful for scaling. And also what we have seen is this has also driven content to become much more focused on what the first mile needs, as we are calling the first mile, or the person on the ground, the Bhujal Jankar. It has also purposed content to become atomic, small-sized, practice-oriented content. It has also prompted content to be made in vernacular. All of these things, which are very nice consequences of us saying that can we look at the participant and build digital for the participant rather than top down from a programmatic lens. But in turn, what do programs get? They also get benefits from just this scanning and scanning out. They get useful, verifiable data on who was trained, on what they were trained, and where they were trained. And they can use this to become much more evidence-based in their governance at scale. They don't need to go searching for who is trained on what. Can they actually start a program now or not? Do they have a scarcity of trainers or an abundance of trainers in this place versus that place? So all of this is now possible because of this simple tool that has been introduced. And we were able to use this tool actually during the master trainer training in the Atal Bhujal Yojana of the Department of Water Resources. So this has been very, very, very powerful. Like I said earlier, groundwater is invisible. And therefore, another tool that we found extremely powerful to demystify this and build the agency of people on the ground is this tool that we are calling the CLART tool, which is the Composite Landscape Assessment and Restoration tool, because this allows the participant to reliably know recharge and discharge areas based on geoposition. It is very useful because it's near impossible to ground truth all plans with physical presence of experts at scale. So this tool allows for more confidence in remote vetting processes, and it accelerates therefore the progress of plans for funding, because a lot of the plans get stuck saying, are we really sure that this intervention is right in the right place, that this intervention is the most appropriate. So this tool actually captures a lot of that intelligence and demystifies it and allows for both the participant to know for sure that they're recommending the right intervention, but also for the person approving to know that this has been done in the right way and that money can actually be put into this intervention. This is very powerful. This increase of confidence and agency building is extremely powerful to create a movement for scale. Another, Abhishek, another core challenge that we found program after program is that it is near impossible to locate data and information from previous efforts in the same location. Every time a program starts, it's almost as if nobody has worked in that area before. And that, all of us collectively find it very difficult to believe. But we have seen, even for Argyam, we have worked in a certain area. We know that there are 20, 30 Bhujal Jankas that we have funded. But when we go, maybe after a year, to look at another program there, we find that it's really difficult to find who are they, where are they, what do they already know, do they need to be trained on the same thing again or not. So as a result, what happens is most programs spend the first few months, some of them spend years in recreating baseline, looking for trainers, looking for content, and then training the same people on the same thing again and again, which really takes away precious time, precious money, not to speak of the loss of agency, because the participants perhaps don't need any of this training because they're already trained. And so we felt that this is like everyone building cars, but nobody is really building the road. And so the cars have limited purpose. So one of the core anxieties we said, if we solve for, and therefore will make participatory water security much better, is can we look at building digital infrastructure that can host and service some of the digital assets that people are already building, that they can leave behind, that people who come after them can reuse. And we feel like this has become almost a necessary condition for scale. So let's imagine now that along with all the assets that are generated that we talked about earlier, they are now available for people in local communities to access, for programs to search and leverage. What would that look like? Yeah, so this is idea of participatory digital infrastructure, as we are calling it. And really it's a big term, but really what we are saying is, can we bring together everybody's knowledge, everybody's information, everybody's data in a way that we can, we don't need to spend tons of time trying to analyze and understand it, to synthesize, but there is a way that we are able to bring it together, that people can just take it and make sense of it, right? So this back-end work of getting it all together and making it speak one language, I think that is what we are calling participatory digital infrastructure. This data that can then become nutrients, which actually belongs to communities, but today it is locked away within a program. It is not really available to communities. So for this to happen, we felt that we have to collectively agree to contribute to core digital community registries, as we are calling it, of people, of content, of data, of plans, of artifacts that can then become the foundation for local planning and action. What do you need for this to happen? This, therefore, then needs to be open and verifiable. so that it can be trusted beyond programs. It should therefore adhere to some standards. All of us have to agree to adhere to some standards. We should agree to some principles of interoperability so that one tool can talk to another tool, so that we can combine information from different programs and different time periods and gather useful insights. This will allow for convergence, this mythical convergence that all of us feel needs to happen, but it's so difficult to happen. And this needs to happen between partners, between programs, between departments, so that we can truly see, are all of us contributing to commons or are we taking away from commons? This is important because we are never really sure if our work, because all of us work in specific areas of water, and we are never sure if it is causing any external negative externalities. For instance, water connects very differently with life, very differently with livelihoods, very differently with sanitation, very differently with urbanization, agriculture, industrialization. All of us, all of these are users for water, but they all behave very differently. So we're never sure net if all our work is contributing to commons or taking away from commons. And this is important for all of us to know if we want to build water security. So and all of in the underlying issues from this anxiety is also that because we don't know, we don't really think that we want to scale, because in case there are negative externalities, then they get amplified. So for us to all feel confident that our work is all adding up in the right way, we perhaps need to come together and think of how do we all contribute to data as commons. Just as groundwater as commons, how do we think of data as commons? This is an evolving piece of work. We need more people to come together to build this as builders of platform, as tool builders, as adopters, as researchers, policymakers, funders. But we are seeing the power of this in the specific things that we are already triggering, which is in the line of making data work as commons. Abhishek, here is an example of a content registry. For instance, in all the work that we do with the participatory digital attestation tool, we have opened up the data. All of that data is open and accessible, and we're seeing that the content registry, which it populates, is now allowing for use cases for participants and programs to reuse that content with trust. So it is increasing searchability and discoverability of content. And we believe the same can happen for people, plans, etc. And so therefore, all of this coming together in some of our work that we are doing, we're just a small player in this, but we are seeing the power of that coming together in that all of these tools and infrastructure is validating these pivotal problems that we feel are very critical to solve for. That of convergence, like I said, right? All of us say we need convergence, but we've not really seen convergence at scale. But some of this digital is helping us converge better. And it's helping us reuse assets. It's helping us redirect funds to produce outcomes rather than continue to put for input for instance, in training. We're seeing in some places that the payment can now be redirected to outcomes. What are they doing? If they make a plan, then let's pay for that rather than pay for inputs. That's one area in which this is. We've seen this moving. We've seen liquidity improving. What we say is, there is knowledge. It's not like knowledge is not available. There are experts there, but these are not available for when people need it, where they need it. So this digital architecture, this digital thinking, we're seeing that it's liberating those assets from boundaries of geography, from boundaries of programs, and creating more liquidity. Another problem that we feel we will all agree to is the issue of accountability. There's a lot of noise in the system. Many people are making lots of claims, but the claims inside the program, inside that partner ecosystem, because they paid for that person to generate that data, that is a fact. But when it leaves that boundary of that partner program, the outside world perhaps will not really take that as a fact, because they'll say, who generated it? When was it done? I'm not really sure this is correct. So therefore, we need to embed data with verifiability. And when we use digital, we feel that we are able to do that. So it improves accountability because it generates facts that are verifiable. It also generates data that is more real time, which is therefore more usable. And last but not the least, because we feel we can only solve the problem of water if more people participate in solving rather than less. digital has allowed us to lower the thresholds for participation. It, like I said, it has allowed for more women to participate. It has allowed for more people to do small parts of the work, and then the digital to sort of take over and add it all up and make it happen so that more people can participate. Each one has perhaps lesser to do, but together we have many more people participating. So therefore, sort of adding to this idea that participation can improve if we use digital in the right way. And we're seeing that play out in the work that we are doing. And it's very, very encouraging. And it's just been 2 years. And it's perhaps early days. And, but we are certainly seeing a shift in terms of the ambition of the partners, both government and civil society organizations, to chew on much more, where they perhaps were looking at maybe hundreds of villages. Now they're saying, can we look at thousands? In one particular case, we are actually looking at state saturation. Just the ability for imagination and ambition to move, to look at doing much more in much less time, because there are some things that digital enables, not everything, but some things. And that power we are seeing play out so that it is increasing the ability to impact more with less resources in lesser time, therefore lesser costs. And we'll talk about some examples of specific examples of how this is enabling state capacity, for instance. We work with the government of Meghalaya in a very specific program we started, which is the community-led landscape management program, which is a World Bank funded program, which is managed by the Meghalaya Basin Management Agency. And that program had a particular mandate of taking 3 years to reach 400 villages. But this digital technology, when embedded in that program, actually created the appetite, the ambition, the imagination, the interest, and the resolve for the government to say, can we now do the same thing and take it to the entire state? So, and in much less time. So 6,000 villages is being attempted in 2 years' time. So as you can see, that's almost a 15x, increase in ambition, and consequently a multiple x output increase and a reduction in cost, because of the ability to tackle so much more at the same time using some of these digital tools and technologies. And Meghalaya, again, continuing the example, has actually taken it a step further. And they are saying that this is now not just about water. This is not about one particular area of natural resource management. Let's put all of natural resource management under one umbrella of Center of Excellence, because all of this capability, which is now powering the ability to unlock more capital, unlock more capacity, unlock more collaboration, should come together as a state imagination of a Center of Excellence. And that is what they are looking at. And they are very seriously investing to see how this can become a reality. One of the visible examples of how this is coming together is the Center of Excellence website, which is yet to go live. It should go live shortly, but it is aggregating all of the assets that have been made under the community-led landscape management program. It is aggregating the assets that are being made under the natural resource scale program, and now it will be available for people and for programs beyond these two programs that I spoke about. For instance, if you can see on the bottom right is a color-coded map that points out recharge and discharge areas and the type of recommended interventions in each village in Meghalaya based on science. So this is really a sort of a snapshot of the tool that I spoke about, which is the composite landscape assessment and restoration tool. And so this is now available on this website for people to actually put the geolocation and look at their particular area. The blue circles on the bottom left represent the number of trained people in each geography. And one can actually drill down. I don't have access to a live site, but we can actually drill down and see the details of the person in each village, and what that person has been trained on, and what content that person has access to, so that they become instantly reusable. The program can discover people. The people can also discover programs. So it's a really, really powerful way to demonstrate what happens if you unlock the power of digital in this way, that people and programs can come together. This has also made it possible to design incentives aligned to outcomes rather than just pay for inputs, and really fuel the ambition for the state to do so much more. And we're seeing that play out every day. Not just the state, but it has also strengthened community imagination and community abilities. It's democratizing access and building the agency of communities. For instance, Sharmald here is a village community facilitator in a remote village in Meghalaya, and he has been able to use these tools and actually build his village's first check dam. And there are many thousand Sharmals across. I think there are 2,600 visible people now. We know who they are, we know exactly what they trained on, and we know therefore where they are and therefore what we can use them for. So this is very reliable and reusable, and therefore very useful for scale. And so what therefore this has allowed us to do, abstracting a little bit from Meghalaya, is really to sit back and see, is there something here that we can use this imagination to see a pathway from program-oriented, program-managed, regimes, which is what is the dominant model today, right? Because we don't have alternate models, where a program has to really start thinking about what is to be done, and then sort of funds it, and then also manages what comes out of it, and then keeps it as well, because then after the program, again, no one else has visibility to that. Therefore, can we look at it as moving from there to a program-originated, community-managed program regime, where we are able to see some things happen, which is shifting from programs to communities. Like today, we can see that content is shifting certainly from programs to communities. Some data, some people related data is also moving, so that people also can access programs, not just programs accessing people. So we're seeing that. But really with this, the power of this will be fully realized when we are able to go to a regime where all of the data that is belonging to that community, whether it's plans, whether it's water data, whether it's physical infrastructure, whether it's training, whether it's content, is all available in that community. So that, and then there are trained people in that community, so that the community can continuously, figure out what is their water situation, what is a runtime problem. Could be a flood today, it could be a drought tomorrow. For climate change and resilience, we really need to move the agency and the center of action from programs to communities. We feel that that's very important, because they are closest to the problem. They can quickly assess what their situation is, and I guess the role of us is to enable them with the right infrastructural support, with the right funding, with the right policies. And we feel that maybe this is an imagination and a pathway that can allow us to do that. Much more work needs to get done, but we see that it is a beginning of something that can be very powerful for us to achieve this. And this is certainly not just us. I keep saying our game and our partners, and this is what it takes. It takes a village to raise a child. I have so many partners who are working with us on this, and we are coming together under this For Water, because we are saying it is for water, it is data for water, it is content for water, it is policy for water, and this is all like-minded partners who have come together for a shared mission to say that can we get together and nudge and catalyze scale thinking using these examples of digital. Maybe many more examples of digital need to come together. Maybe many more examples are already happening. How do we bring them all together so that together the value of that is many fold? And we feel like we need many more to join this as thought partners, implementation partners, advisors, digital partners, and government leaders to craft and build this to execution. And really also points to the centrality of SDG 17, which says collaboration is key to this. And all of this really has given us the power to actually put out this mission with some degree of humility, but also some degree of ambition, and sort of and vision to say that we need to get together and somehow push for much more water security to happen much faster. So this is the mission that we've put together with all our partners, strengthening the ability of the ecosystem to enable water security for 100 million people by 2023, really to say that current models perhaps are not going to be enough. We have to see how we can do things much faster. We know what to do perhaps, but how do we do that much faster, much better, much cheaper? And that's our endeavor. We have started the journey. It is about 2 to 3 years old. We are seeing some of the places where we are working, we are really seeing magic happen. But we did need to do a lot more. So the idea here was just to share this and to kind of just have a discussion around what needs to happen to do much more of this with all of you, so that we can move towards water security as required. Thank you so much. I think, Abhishek, if you can play the video. Like I said, we would like to share all of this is perhaps a little bit, I don't know, could come across as abstract because I'm speaking about something that's happening out there. So we thought we'll capture the voices from the ground and just present a very short video. Hopefully it will be very useful for you to connect with that. So requesting Abhishek to do that, please. Abhishek, is the video with audio coming for everybody?
What us used to call last mile, we were sensitive and we always used to refer as the first mile. In the project, most of them, 90% are young people. And young people are always dynamic and they always want to see things, achieve things and gain credibility for them. You know, that is a natural thing for any young people. Now, which they were not getting earlier.
दिन थरे एफएस तरफ जूम गाइडेड मॉनिटरिंग सेशन हुए जो समस्त प्रश्नर उत्तर पाइबारे समस्यार समाधान करि पारिछु
मु एई लॉकडाउन पीरियड रे घरे बसी जूम ऐप माध्यम रे ट्रेनिंग नेथिली ता बड़ फायदा हला कोन मु लोक मानन को जोठे की जाउची जोटे भी मोर किछ मने न पडिला मु लोक मानन को मोबाइल खोली से जो जहा भी बुझेबी जैविक चाष विषय रे मु लोक मानन को से विषय रे बुझेई पारुची.
Everybody keeps talking about data-driven governance, but we could never sort of really leverage on data to that extent to be able to do these things. But what happened was, starting right from the introduction of TDA, that itself, I think, was a huge thing for MBDA. Now with the scale program going on and, you know, with the interest that the state has, I think this is a very huge step that we've been able to take.
We feel that the data-driven approach is also very important for us to enhancing the pace of work as well as improve the decentralized or the distributed leadership process which we wanted to establish in the organization, especially on the aspect of strategic thinking and decision making.
In last 3 years, only 18% of component 1 was emphasized. Only 18% we could utilize of component 1. This year, you know how much? 62%.
These programs, they tend to operate in silos, right? We know that many departments, many agencies are operating in NRM, but there's never been a platform in which, you know, they come together to sort of work together towards the common goal. You'll see that, you know, there are lots of human resources that we have trained in past programs, but if you have to go and find them now, it's very difficult. We also generate a lot of artifacts, as I mentioned earlier, but you'll not find them, right? They typically are locked up with whatever program had it at that time. And so there's a lot of investment that goes into all these things. So all of this has made us realize that, you know, there's a need to sort of have a single platform.
They have all the training content with them and in their hands. if they want to propagate all the principles to other people, I think it would be easy for them because they would, they do not need us anymore. And as such, I think this would make the project also sustainable.
First time is very nervous because how to work. I don't know because many of this project you have to use mobile. Not for me, but I've got training, so I know this job is not hard because you can work only in my village.
We BCR from the village actually work and sat with the communities and were able to produce this independent of having people there at the village with them. So if that's not a sign of effectiveness of all these things, then I don't know what it is.
Thank you, Abhishek. I hope that kind of brings together some of the things I was talking about and brings to life some real life, real faces and real voices. Thank you. That's what I had to say, and happy to take questions.
Thank you so much, Jaimalaji, and it was so nice to hear from you and the kind of initiatives you have taken. And certainly, digitalization is the new, this is the new intervention now wherever we go. So that's especially in the water sector, connecting them with the right strategy with the community and then taking it forward is something is really inspiring. And now we will be starting with our question answer session. And so I'll quickly introduce the format.
Just one second. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir, please.
So
Please,
it's
sir.
amazing. Very, very valid points which you have mentioned, Malaji. So basically, when we all talk about digital interventions, we used to use digital technology के बारे में ज़्यादा बात करते हैं. How to use digital innovations to look at measuring for leakage detection, etc. But you were focusing on the data aspect of capacity building as well as the keeping track of the trained people, that's the human resources data, and also documentation of all the activities. That's a very interesting thing. Interestingly, the last two water tech talks which we had in National Water Mission were also centered around the data part of it. So see, one of the major problem which we have is non-interoperability of data. Everybody have their own system of data, and to a large extent, we tied over it in the Jal Shakti Abhiyan Catch the Rain campaign because we had a national portal, and we still had a lot of problem from putting the data from various states. So even though we had about 16 lakh photographs already in the data, some of the places they had used local language, and there were a lot of issues associated with that. Anyway, that is one major challenge which we are also addressing. But then see, many of the things which we are mentioning about the women empowerment and the number of people coming to use. The National Water Mission also had honored about 41 women warriors, women water warriors on International Women's Day. And many of these people were totally illiterate, unprepared people there, but they had a lot of wisdom. A lot of people who had probably not gained any formal knowledge in the sense that from school or something, but then they have wisdom, and many of them were actually practically using these gadgets also. They were slightly digitally enabled. So that was a very interesting thing, and they also looked at the quality aspect as well, because many of the people who were looking at where we awarded were actually looking at the quality aspect of water, testing the quality of water, and guiding the people what water to drink, how to drink good water, how to make good water, etc., etc. That's very interesting aspect. So your convergence, liquidity, and accountability and participation. These are all the main theme which we also went with the Catch the Rain campaign. If you look at it, it is probably one of the most decentralized form of campaign. We never put any major structures anywhere. We only said that everybody should start doing the campaign, catching the rain and store it. That is one very, very decentralized, environment-friendly campaign which we did. And the portal has information of almost all the works done and almost 16 lakh photographs. These are for transparency and accountability. Anybody can watch and see these programs. It's an open portal. It's not even find access only for adding the thing you have access rights. Otherwise, anybody can see this portal and of course participate to everything, because otherwise it's not happen in such large number. So, but again, coming back to one of the major innovative innovation of the Jal Shakti Abhiyan Catch the Rain campaign is the Jal Shakti Kendra, which is actually what you are also. So your digital data can always reside in the Jal Shakti Kendra, and Jal Shakti Kendra, as you rightly said, it will have information of the water in the district, whether it's rainfall, whether it is quantity of water, availability of water, whether it is the classification blocks, whether it's usage of water, all the water related water information will be available, and also will be a repository of information, like you said. They also can keep the data of the people who have been trained, so that every time you reinvent the wheel and ask for training the person again and again, those information part which you are collecting can be also put in the Jal Shakti Kendra, so that and very important, the one of the major jobs of the Jal Shakti Kendra is to tell what is your appropriate rainwater harvest system. Depending upon the subsoil conditions and climatic conditions, the structures vary. So that's why we thought that Jal Shakti Kendra should be a repository of all the appropriate technology that can be used there. And I've seen some of your CLAT be used in some part of the country. So different layers of information is added to that, and people make a informed decisions so that the efficacy of the utilization of money is much better. And that is very, very interesting. And so some of the things, and in fact, not some, many other things which you have mentioned have been conceptualized in the Jal Shakti Kendra. You should make this Jal Shakti Kendra the digital Jal Shakti Kendra, so that this can be available at the district, and this will be a major. I thank for this wonderful talk which you have done. So I now let's open it to questions. Rama?
Thank you.
Yes, so now as a ritual, we also have question answer session as part of this Water Talk and Tech Talk series, because there are a lot of people who have joined us, not through this platform only, but from various social media handles. We are currently live from almost 7 to 8 handles of social media, including National Water Missions, Water Digest, and the Ministry of Jal Shakti, and many more. So I'll quickly introduce you with the format. Many of you who are our regular, participants to Water Talk are well versed with the format. So on your screen, you have an option of raising hand. If you have any query, please raise your hand and unmute yourself, and then introduce yourself and put forward your query. And you also have an option of writing in the chat box. So let us know in case you have any query. And we have already taken up a couple of them which came in the chat box. So yeah, you can also post your query from the social media handle. So Jai Balaji, I would also like to tell you that there are compliments coming in for you. Very big achievement within such a short span of time. And one of the questions is by Mansi Tilak, who is wanting to know what digital advancements are we likely to see in the coming years.
I think it's difficult to pinpoint certain advancements, but I think what we are hoping will happen is that the ecosystem is moving very rapidly. I mean, digital is consuming all of us, and it is impacting so many parts of our lives. And our hypothesis is, why should water be left out? Right? So we should try to see how water can benefit from a lot of that. And I feel like a lot of those, therefore, will come to impact water in very, very many different ways. As Arghyam, we don't build digital technology. We actually harness the power that already exists. So we certainly think that generation of trusted data, and therefore what all can be done with data using, machine learning, using artificial intelligence. I feel like a lot of that will come back to benefit participatory water management in very many different ways. And GIS as well, because GIS is a big thing that will also then combine with this to make the power of data much more available to people.
And what steps are being taken to make sure that the people who actually need to implement and use this technology, they have the necessary knowledge and skills to navigate digital strategies?
Yes, I think that's a very important question. So, therefore, when we started building a little bit of context, we said we will not build from a programmatic framework that we want to manage the program better, because those sorts of things have been done. What we said is we will make technology that is for the first mile. We're calling the first mile, which is the person on the ground, the water champion, right? If we make technology that that person will find useful, then the program will also find that useful, right? So in a sense, it is a very simple +1 behavior change. All the person has to do is have a smartphone, but really scan in and scan out of training. That's all they have to do. So it's not very difficult. The only two data pieces that are taken are name and phone number. We have found that while starting, we do have to explain what this is, but really the power of it is in explaining the why. If you explain to them that what they get as a result of this, we are finding that adoption is much, much easier.
Okay. Do you think remote localities in rural regions can also adapt to digital methods? This is a query by Pankaj.
Yes. So when we went in, we also didn't know, right? When we started, we felt it could be 40%, 50% coverage. We realized that we need to be very clear and actually collect real data, because sometimes we have a lot of assumptions. When we thought it is 30, it was actually 60. And then when we went in and explained the why of it, that actually then became 80. So in most of our places, yes, there will always be some places who don't have access, and we have to find a way to include them. But for the most part, we are finding that that is not a problem. Even in Meghalaya, which has a lot of remote places.
Probably now the people are all used to smartphones and etc. WhatsApp has become very common, and I have seen many places information being sent on WhatsApp, etc. So the farmers, one of the very potential intervention is actually sending the rainfall data, etc., to the farmers, and so they can plan the irrigation properly. That would be a very interesting thing, because if we can sort of predict the next rainfall in the next 4 days, so that the farmers can actually plan their irrigation properly, then there will be a lot of saving of water, and the water use efficiency in agriculture, which we talk as one of the very poor, very poor in the country, can probably a very large extent addressed. And also we can mitigate a lot of concerns of the farmers if we can able to push through this. Farmers are using, so women are also now using WhatsApp. So
yes,
we are this great digital divide which we think of probably is maybe not that exists.
Ashokji, there is also one, in fact, there is a thought which is invited from your side. It's about the Jal Shakti Kendra, which you just mentioned. So there is one comment which has come from, I can't read the name. It says, great idea, would be very interesting in working with the Ministry of Digital Jal Shakti Kendra. Ashokji, please share your thoughts so that we can meet and work on this with the ministry.
So the idea of Jal Shakti Kendra is totally decentralized. So it is basically you can meet your collector or your the district administration there, and then can start working on it. The idea came out because water was like that, divided into various silos. Many departments handle it: the agriculture department, the industry department, and probably the urban department who looks for drinking water purpose. They are the main users. Then there's a rural water department who contains the water conservation part of it. Irrigation department handles the water distribution part of it. In rural, there is a big conflict between the urban and the rural and the surface water and groundwater. They never used to be. So information about water in the district were all fragmented and with different people, and never could get the picture of the whole elephant. It's all like a diamond and elephant, different parts of the elephant they touch, and they used to come out with that opinion. So to get the whole elephant picture, the big elephant picture, we had this concept of this Jal Shakti Kendra. So Jal Shakti Kendra tradition, because it's again a very innovative thing that it takes it takes a little bit for time to break that silo. So to start with that, we said that you only share information, no funds should be handled by them. So probably the easiest maybe or to part with people would be the information part of, because nobody would like to the control of funds. So that's why we thought that this would be a center of information on all water-related activities, and then probably we can build on it for better planning of water conservation plans, or better utilization of plants. And now, as Malaji was handling, we probably can also keep the information on the human resources who are trained in various water activities, watershed activities. Who are the people who can guide them in micro irrigation practices? Which are the most appropriate micro irrigation practices? Or guide the people on what type of crops to be taken. Because crop diversity is also a very important aspect, because there are crops which require very large quantity of water, and crops which require less quantity of water. Depending upon the availability of water, we can suggest or advise the people for picking the appropriate crops. Also, if they are insisting on continuing the same crop pattern without going for diversion, we should also try to tell them what type of better irrigation practices can be used for that crop, which can save a lot of water. So all these information guidance can be given by the Jal Shakti Kendra. Your suggestion of digital Kendra is very good, but let us. We want it actually a totally decentralized. So we don't want any centralized setup. What is suitable for that area? What is required for that area? Some area may be a problem of water logging, may be a problem, whereas in some other district it will be shortage of water. So there are cases where you have abundance of water, the problem, and there are most of the places we have a shortage of water. So depending upon the area, let the local administration or local people decide what exactly is to be shared, and depending upon the need of the people, what sort of information people need, it has to be done at the decentralized level. So our idea of Jal Shakti Kendra is a totally decentralized setup where local information can be used up, and we are also trying to set up a national level center of excellence which will collect all these good information practices, and any doubt which the local people bodies, local information Shakti Kendras have, they can always seek guidance from the top, and as well as other way around, if new practices are found which are suitable for the areas, our Center for Excellence can disseminate down to the Jal Shakti Kendras in districts and for further disseminating. So it is going to be a two-way communication, but the focus and the cutting edge would be at the district level. So district level, do it, and with partnership from foreign countries, because we have also got people from embassies, like countries like Denmark and Israel coming forward, take up, help us in technologies and also best practices in those countries. Whether it is adaptable, suitable or not, it's something which we have to think about at the national level. And I will keep this at the central center of excellence at the district level, at the state level, or at the national level, which can be utilized by the Shakti Kendra. So great idea. You can connect with that. You please send us by email or something. You can expand it. But this is going to be a very exciting and a game changer as far as water would be concerned. Jal Shakti Kendra in every district.
So I hope you got the replies to your query, and as of now, there are no more hand raised, and there are no more queries except this last one, which says whether digital technologies can play a crucial role in providing water security to irrigation sector, to water for industries, and also drinking water supply for the communities, both in terms of quality and quantity. If yes, then how? Whether we have any such models of participatory digital infrastructure in the world that we can examine, visit, and replicate in India.
They have models. They have models. I mean, FES also had some of the models which I've seen.
Yeah, yeah. I think many people are
Yeah.
working on very, very different, solutions. Certainly they're available. I think, like I mentioned, what we are trying to see is how do we make a lot of that much more scalable, right? Much more available to many more people, right? I think that's the whole idea. In some sense, saying many cars are there, but where is the road to carry the cars? Can we build a car that can carry a road that people can walk on, that cycle can go as well? It's agnostic in some sense to the actual solution. I think our approach is the solutions are there. Many people are doing many things over so many years and trying to solve the problem. But how can we abstract from that and make it available for more people? I think that is really where we are coming from. And our examples that we gave are use cases for some things that we are showing to see what is the impact if you do that. But this is absolutely not restricted to these two. There may be many more solutions that need to come in. That is why I said the idea of commons and data as commons and infrastructure as commons needs to, we all need to work together to harness that. It cannot be done by Arghyam alone. We have to come together, agree on some standards, agree on what will we contribute, how will we consume. It's going to take time, but I think it's a behavior change process as well. So we need to put up our hands and say, can we work together on this? And as Arghyam, we're just seeding the thought.
So that was the last query for today.
Yeah.
And now I think I'll again request Ashokji for your concluding remark. And thank
Okay,
you so
thanks
much.
a lot. Thanks a lot,
Malaji, for
Malaji.
your,
Malaji,
for
thanks
your
a lot for your
wonderful.
talk. So this is again focusing on various, I would say, pahalus of water, because we had water management, water data, water technology, all coming in different forms. This platform is actually a platform where very different ideas, not just confined to one sector, but we have a basic idea is water is there, but various ways of approaching water management is discussed. And I'm very happy that the very innovative suggestions come up, and efficient use of water and efficient use of technology associated with water, and for efficient management of water, a lot of ideas come up, and a lot of people are listening to it. And definitely, when we come out, we always come out with the book at the end of the year, the water talks. And these talks are also available in our website, so a lot of people continue to watch it. A lot of people are live in our Facebook pages also. And since it is available in the website, it will be a lot of people continue to watch us who are not able to watch it now. So many people come back to us with more suggestions, modifications of these things. So I hope that you would have found it very useful and very valuable. So once again, I thank you for this wonderful talk and a very, very refreshing idea of using water data in a very, very democratic way and getting more people. Thanks a lot, Malaji. So I also like to thank all the people who have associated with me in this water talk. So it's probably like something like a transform for me in the National Water Mission, because in the last 20 almost 2-3 years, we have been putting a lot of effort to bring up water as a point of discussion. And I think to a very large extent, I succeeded in getting water as a point of discussion in the country. And with the water talk, water tech talk, and water business hub, and with the dialogue with the DMs, and almost 200 to 300 webinars, which we had organized in various platforms, be it with the universities, industries, be it with city, CII, even water warriors, national agencies. We could bring in a lot of discussion from very high precision agriculture of using the ultimate of artificial intelligence and digital twinning technology for processing the water, to Gadda Godke, simple person who had transformed the village by just digging pits. So to that entire range of people we have brought into a platform, and they talk their experience. It's all available in our platform, so people can use it and probably make better use of it. So our whole idea was to make people understand the value of water and make people respect water. To a large extent, we have achieved that. The Catch the Rain campaign was one of the pinnacle of that, where we could bring in so many people, participants. When our training program for Nehru Yuva Kendra people done, we had discussion. We could get people from all the districts, about 10 to 20 people from districts, talk on where to get trained on the various options of rainwater harvesting and how to communicate with the people. And to an extent that we collectively had about almost 3 crore people participating in our awareness generation activities itself. That itself is a major thing. And despite the fact that Catch the Rain is an English word, many people are start using this Catch the Rain. And just now I got a message that UNICEF and the CDC are all coming out with a post on Catch the Rain campaign. So I'm thankful for thankful to all the people who had helped us in this awareness, particularly Anupama and the team, Water Digest. They had provided this platform, stable platforms for talks. We had APAC, another had a platform for dialogue with their DMs, etc. So all and the team in National Water Mission, a very lean, mean organization with very little people, achieved that. We had corresponded with all the district collectors. Today also we sent letters to all the chief secretaries to push the last round of Catch the Rain campaign, rounding it up. So I'm happy that we leave with good water mark being wet, and also I'm moving to a place which is again a more challenging task of cleaning the Ganga. National Mission for Clean Ganga is much more probably piety associated with it, but more trouble and more work is awaiting there. And since continuing with the same realm of water, probably, and river water conservation and the asta associated with the Ganga, probably a challenge. Once again, thank all the people who have been party with me for this great journey. Thanks a lot. Thanks everybody.
So thank you, Shuk sir. In fact, we are also looking forward to a new start from January. This is the last, like you said, this is the last talk of the year being delivered by Ms. Jayamala. So of course, it's a good ending and again a new start we're looking forward to in January. And there is much in store, which I think we should disclose when we'll be doing our first talk of the year. I think you'll agree with me, Ashokji. So on that note, thank you all the participants for joining us today, and thank you for all your support, because your support has made these Water Talk and Tech Talk series really popular, and I think each and everyone who is connected to water industry is well versed with Water Talk and Water Talks. So we really look forward to your active participation in the future Water Talks also. And sir, you just mentioned about Nadi, so I will take just 2 minutes to mention that Nadi Utsav is already being celebrated now. It has started from 17th and it will be a 10 days event which will be happening all across 22 states of India, and it's a wonderful event, and a lot of pictures are coming in from various localities, districts, places where the events are happening on daily basis. So please be updated with these activities which are there on www.nadiutsav.com website also. And sooner we'll also have presence of Ashokji's there and more to learn from his side. And till then, let's be actively glued to these platforms and keep knowing more about your own resource, which is nothing but water. Please take care and have a wonderful stay. Bye. Thank you.
Happy New Year, and Tanker Books Bharat probably next year.
Thank you.